Okay, everyone, we are live with We're Only Human podcast, episode 5. Yeah, it should be episode 5. I had some friends asking me earlier which episode I'm on. I said 4, then I realized that I'm on episode 5. So the last time we were here, we had a standalone episode with Alex the Sigil on her own about her adventure to the Midwest and how it has changed her. This week, we'll be continuing our series called Family: The Good, the Bad, and the Memories. This time, we're going to be talking about fathers. So, our first discussion in this series was about our mothers and how they impacted us, where we talked about a bit about what they were good at, what they were bad at, and a couple of details like that. And this time, the fathers are going to take the spotlight. And once again, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Alex. Say hi.
What's up?
All right, cool. Nice job. Okay. Okay, so the first question that we are going to put in the chat, or we're gonna plug into the podcast, would be, what is the most important thing that your dad has taught you?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Okay. Well, normally you go first. So the most important thing that my dad has taught me is probably to never give up and also to not expect help. He always said that it's okay to accept help when it's offered, but don't expect it to be given to you. So basically don't like expect handouts and stuff like that.
That's fair. For me, it's interesting. Think about the most important thing my dad has taught me. He's taught me a lot of stuff, and my mustache keeps getting in the way. That's gonna be annoying, but yeah, he's taught me a bunch of stuff. I'd say it's really hard to narrow down one thing specifically that he's taught me that's really important. If I had to think on it, I would say one thing that is really important is the responsibility of self-reliance. I guess you could say. I guess that's one of them. For me, self-reliance has always been something that's real important because you need to be able to take care of yourself in case you ever get put into a situation to where other people aren't able to help you personally, or maybe they won't have an interest in helping you. You got to make sure that if you're ever in a situation that isn't exactly pleasant, you got to make sure you know your way out of it, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's taught me a couple of things. If I could think of them, I'll pop them out. But yeah, let's move on to the next question. What is something your dad always says to you?
My dad always says that there's always room for improvement.
Mm.
He he really loves to remind me that I am not perfect and that I can always improve and basically that nobody is perfect. So, yeah.
One thing my dad always says to me is, again, it's a couple things. He's a really complicated man. I'd say one thing he always says to me is, okay, well, he calls me Pone. That's Malayalam or Malay for gold, I think. I believe it's gold. Because, it's basically saying I'm his little golden nugget in a way. Or I'm his precious being. And he always he always tells me he loves me. But at the same time, though, it's interesting because it's not that we don't mean it at all, but it's a common thing between us in this family, I guess, to where we're always saying we love you, and instead of just saying goodbye or I'll see you later, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say another thing that he always says to me is that I'm trying to think actually. I know for a fact that there is something. I'm trying to remember what it is. I'll come back to that one too, I guess. So the next question is, what is your dad really good at?
My dad is really good at acting quickly in a pinch. Basically, if something bad happens and like you need to act fast, he can do it. He has really good reflexes in like driving scenarios or in really any scenario. Um, when he caught our house on fire, he also acted very quickly and put the fire out before the fire rescue people could even show up. So
Hmm,
I would say that he's always good at acting quickly when it's needed.
that's good. For me, I would say my dad is. He's not a quick thinker, but I would say he's a really good problem solver. Like, for example, whenever there is some sort of random problem around the house, and you can call it rather an unorthodox problem, he'll always be able to figure out a solution for it. Like, for example, This was the last time we had a huge amount of snow in North Carolina. Whenever that was, I'm trying to remember. Maybe like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, something like that. There was a huge amount of snow, and my dad and stepmom were out for the day, and I saw that that basically one of the trees next to the side of the house started, or not started to, it immediately drifted off into my stepmom's room. Like basically knocked against the window. There wasn't any property damage or anything like that. But he immediately knew what to do because he knew for a fact that we would need to get some ladders. He knew for a fact that we need to get some shovels. So I got everything together, and he explained to me that I got to knock all the snow off of the tree, so that way the weight comes off of it. And then he managed to talk to some of his friends for some tools and stuff like that. And then we managed to cut down the tree.
Yeah.
And then cut to a couple weeks ago. So long story short, we haven't actually gotten rid of the entire tree just yet. For reasons beyond my comprehension. So what he's been doing is he found some shears in the backyard, and every now and then he'll just chop up a couple branches every now and then we'll stuff them into the trash cans, and then the garbage truck will come take them away. And I'd say another thing my dad is really good at is this is his own title, I believe. I'm willing to bet he made up this title. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is always starting up businesses and always shutting down other businesses. I would say he is really good at creating ideas for a business and not necessarily holding on to those businesses, because given his nature, he always likes to move on to new things. But he has always been excellent at thinking of new ideas, new innovative ways to start up a business, and other things that he can do personally that I personally believe have a lot of potential.
Nice.
Okay, what is your dad really bad at? Again, this is the spicy stuff.
My dad is really bad at being empathetic and understanding. He does try. However, when it comes to trying to comprehend emotions or like just anything that's emotional at all, like he just doesn't seem to comprehend other people's emotions very well. And like, you try to explain like the situation to him, and he'll look at it like a math problem, and he'll be like, well, why don't you solve it like this? And then you'll try to tell him that it can't be solved like that, and then he'll just be like, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So
I got you. For me, my dad, he is not the best at an extraordinary number of things. One, he is, again, it's similar to what you're saying. He's really bad with empathy, which is ironic because a while ago, back when I was a kid, he wanted to start this own business, which was basically about understanding someone's personality as well as figuring out their talents, and I guess you could say it was a sort of personality assessment as well as a life planner's business. And if perhaps a customer had a potential to be an entrepreneur, they would be added to a database. That way we could all have some sort of interlinking database between entrepreneurs and people that can work together. But it's ironic though, because my dad, he's never really been able to understand people being upset sometimes. Like, it's interesting, like, sometimes, like, my sister or me will be upset, and my dad will just expect us to immediately shrug it off, I guess you could say. He expects us to immediately brush off any emotion that we got and just get back to normal.
right.
Whereas I would say with him, personally, whenever something upset, he again, he's not like this anymore. He's definitely mellowed out since then. But whenever something else upsets him, he'll absolutely explode for a good, 5 minutes, and then he is perfectly back to normal because I guess you could say he's able to have a decent output to all of his emotions to where he doesn't have to worry about it again for at least a while.
Yeah.
Whereas, for example, if me and my sister get upset, he's not going to understand why we're being so upset, regardless of the situation or context at all. And again, he's not going to want us to have any sort of output of our own, to where we'll just be holding on to it for a long time, and then when we do explode, I guess you could say, things aren't exactly that good or healthy, but it's not to the point where it's going to be completely reset because we're not able to share the exact same amount of output that he does.
Yeah.
And I would say another thing my dad misses a lot would be he's not that good at social cues. I remember this one time we were invited to the premiere of the Disney movie Queenie Catway because my dad's kind of friends with the director, or not the director, I guess you could say the owner of that movie. I don't know the exact extent to it, but I just know for a fact that he helped make that movie because he kind of like got ownership of the film rights, something like that. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but one
Yeah.
thing is, so my dad, he loves to network with people so that way he can have connections with people as well as friends. And when
Mhm.
we found the guy in charge of the movie, we had a decent conversation with him, but at the same time, where the guy was at that moment, that he was taking pictures with anybody that would come along, and we took our pictures with him. But then my dad, he tried to engage him in deep conversation, but what he didn't realize is he needs to move along because there's a bunch of other people waiting in line to get a picture with him. That's why I
Right.
had to tell him, "Hey, Dad, other people are waiting for us, so we got to go." And then after I explained it to him, then he understood, and then we went go, and then we found a place to see and get some food and watch the movie. Good movie, by the way, Queenie Catway. I don't know if it's
Huh.
on Disney. I don't know if it's on Disney Plus or not, but it's a good Disney movie, I'd say.
I don't know if I've ever heard of it.
It didn't do that well in the box office, but it was a good movie, I'd say. Got a
Yeah.
pretty big cast too.
Huh.
Oh yeah, another thing my dad is bad at is communication. I'm gonna say communication, but what I mean is he doesn't understand tone. I'd say he's very tone deaf because half the time he'll be raising his voice a lot, but he won't even be upset. He'll be raising his voice a lot, and it'll sound like he's upset, even though he's talking about something that's not even upsetting at all for him. And when he'll be listening to me and my sister talk, he'll rather have his own or he'll have his own perception of what we were saying rather than what we meant to actually say.
Right. My dad's kind of the same way. He doesn't really always realize his tone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question is, what is your favorite memory of your dad?
Oh, you missed one.
Oh, did I? Up, yep, my bad. What do you and your dad do together the most?
Me and my dad, usually the most what we do the most would be like lunch or dinner. Occasionally we'd go fishing. I don't really go fishing that much anymore because I got a hook stuck in my thumb once and
Damn,
that was not really that fun. Um, so
sucks.
I usually like if we do go fishing, I kind of refrain from doing actual fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but a lot of times we'll go to like lunch or dinner and there are a couple of like local places that he likes to try out and then last time we had lunch together we got this place that kind of specializes in like duck things and like they have like duck ramen and duck
Ooh,
tacos and that and I had duck ramen. It was really good.
that does sound good. I don't know if I've ever had duck actually. I feel like I should have, just because it's a thing I can eat, but I don't think I've ever actually had duck.
Duck is really good. It's like to me, duck is like very moist and like kind of like a softer version of chicken.
Okay.
That's kind of like the best way for me to describe it.
I've heard people explain it as, yeah, like a more moist chicken with a little more flavor than the actual regular chicken.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really good.
Okay, one thing me and my dad do together the most, for a fact, we absolutely love sitting down and watching movies and TV shows together because I guess you could say he's not that into Star Wars, but he will sit down and watch a Star Wars movie because he does find it entertaining. But he absolutely loves superhero movies. I remember when he was gone for 7 months in Dubai, Uganda/Ghana. All these things are coming out like Mandalorian season 2, Cobra Kai season 3, as well as all these Disney Plus shows that are coming out that he's still missing. It was about 2 weeks ago, right before he left. We watched the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. He's a big fan of superhero movies like I am, but of course, he doesn't really exactly have time for them. But sometimes when he does have time for him, that's what we'll do together because I want to be able to introduce to him this. I want to be able to introduce these new ideas to him in the film industry as well as the entertainment industry with Disney Plus too. Because him and I, we really do have an interest in the film industry. Not exactly like in a career path or anything like that, but we're really interested in what the next path is or what the next step is, and what new ideas they're going to implement for entertainment.
Yeah.
Because it's real interesting with him because I want to show him the idea that Marvel is taking the budget of a 2-hour movie and turning them into a 6-episode show, and they are doing an amazing job at it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember also when I was younger, when I would get off school, or whenever I'd be done with school or college work at the time, him and I would binge the Arrowverse, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and everything like that. We kind of fell off the show just because all the seasons kind of just turned to shit, honestly, which does suck.
Yeah, I fell off of it too.
Do you want to know how I know it changed?
How?
Because I saw a tweet of a YouTube video, someone saying the man the Flash really has changed, huh? And the title of the video is I think the guy's name's Larry or Tim or something like that. Larry, I'm just gonna call him Tim. Tim tells Barry and Iris to stop having sex in the office. Like at the same time, like that's weird for me hearing that because it's a show about a guy who's supposed to be able to move faster than light, And yeah,
Yeah.
they're kind of twisting it into a bit of a soap opera to where it's going to focus on emotions, relationships, and a bit of comedy, or instead of focusing on the main theme, the fact that Barry Allen, he's a man who can go travel faster than light, and the fact that his world's constantly changing around him because of his innate abilities.
Yeah. I stopped watching it. It just got really messy, like right around
Season 4 for me.
uh I don't remember what season I left off on. I do remember when I stopped, which was like right before COVID started. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't remember what that one was.
That reminds me, I still haven't watched the finale, the last 2 seasons of Arrow. I know the last 2 seasons of Arrow were amazing. I got to get back on that, but I know for a fact that I don't really have an interest in the other shows because I believe that they have fallen off very hard, which is rather unfortunate.
I actually haven't watched The Arrow.
Arrow is the show that started the whole Arrowverse because it was back in 2011 or 12, maybe 13 or something like that. They had season 1 of Arrow, and then in season 2 of Arrow, they introduced Barry Allen, and then they had the idea of what if we created our own little franchise, our own little superhero universe.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I guess you could say Arrow back then was the Iron Man to like superhero television.
See, I started with The Flash, and then I started watching Supergirl after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like whenever the Arrow was involved, like I watched like the episodes where all of them were in it, but like I never really watched any of the like actual like Arrow episodes.
I'll say this about Arrow. Arrow is really gritty and dark, but I know for a fact that season 3 does fall off a lot for Arrow as well as season 4. Season 4 is probably one of the worst seasons in the entire Arrowverse, but I know for a fact that literally every other season besides that is really, really well done.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll have to watch it.
me and my dad, we absolutely love watching movies and TV shows together. I remember this one time after I watched Avengers Endgame in theaters with my cousin Sean, I figured for a fact I need to watch this with my dad in theaters. So we bought a ticket to Avengers Endgame in theaters, and I remember looking at his face during some of those final battles. It was amazing and priceless, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite memory of your dad?
My favorite memory of my dad would have to be him playing the guitar. Because he loves playing guitar and he would always play it like constantly. Sometimes he'd even go outside on the front porch and play it like right after like dinner time, and he'd just play it out on the front porch for like the neighbors to hear. Um that was actually a pretty frequent thing that he would do, and As crazy as I thought he was sometimes for doing it, I still like thinking about it, and he used to play like all of like those old like classic songs like
Mm.
Billy Joel, My Life by Billy Joel,
That sounds nice.
and stuff like that.
That's a nice memory. For me, I don't know if I have a specific favorite memory of my dad. I'm sure it was when we were watching something. Actually, no, I think I remember. It was this one night. It was a month or two after Kong Skull Island got released in theaters. We decided to watch it together, and I watched it for the first time, and I had an absolute amazing time with it because I love the fact that him and I were. Oh, your dad's a guitar teacher, huh, Kazakh? That's cool. But yeah, I remember it was when Kong Skull Island came out, and I love the fact, absolutely, to this day, that's still one of my favorite movies to watch, for a fact, because I love the fact that they managed to bring back the idea that big blockbuster action movies can actually be a really good time and an actually really well done movie instead of just being a sort of bang for your buck, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember during that same day, me and my dad we went to Trader Joe's, got some ice cream. What? It's Trader Joe's. I remember it's like a little deli spot. I think it's Trader Joe's. Is Trader Joe's a grocery store?
Yeah, that's a grocery store.
It had a similar name to Trader Joe's. I'm trying to remember what it was. Thank you, Joseph. Yeah, it had a similar name to something like that. And we went to get ice cream from there. We got some pizza that day. Thank you, Kazakhs. But yeah, we got pizza that day. Got some ice cream. We had a really good time, and then we just had a full-on conversation about the film industry, how they're trying to build franchises, the miniature universes, and everything like that. And how they managed to bring back a big blockbuster action movie and make it a good movie with depth and character, as well as a decent story too.
Yeah.
As you could say, that's one of my favorite memories from my dad. I'm sure I have another one, but sometimes like it's a little fuzzy on that. Okay. If your dad had $1 million, what would he spend it on?
My dad would hide it. He wouldn't spend it.
Mm-hmm.
See, my dad is known for like penny pinching basically.
Mm-hmm.
He makes good money with what he does, but he does not spend his money. Um so he'd probably retire and hide all of his money and just live the same way that he does except without working.
Mm-hmm. For me, that is a complicated, loaded ass question. Holy shit! My dad, I know for a fact that first he would settle any payments that he has to pay for the house and everything like that, as well as give money to my mom and my stepmom because they all pay for the house, and he owes them some. And
Yeah.
the rest of it would be some sort of long-term investment in a business or something like that. Because one thing my dad likes to do is he will make an investment in something. Like for example, he's in Africa right now trying to work on his business. I don't know if I mentioned what it is or not, but I probably shouldn't. But he's been working on his business for a long time, and when he works on his business, he'll spend some time on something that will literally take months, maybe even a year, just to actually make any profit out of it. Like sometimes I'll
Uh,
say, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" And he says, It's going good. It's going very good. I'm almost really close to making a lot of money." And thing is like, I do believe him on it, but sometimes I know for a fact that when he says he's really close, that means it's actually going to take a very long time for him to actually make a profitable outcome out of that.
right.
Oh yeah, and he would spend a tiny, tiny, tiny bit on one lottery ticket, just one.
Yeah, that would probably. Well, actually, my dad wouldn't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
He would like hide all of his money and just like he'd probably do just enough to like renovate the house and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Okay, we were at a halfway point. I'd say now is a good time for you to read the random fact of the day, Alex.
Random fact of the day. So, the random fact of the day is the 100 folds in a chef's toque are said to represent the 100 ways to cook an egg.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yes.
Oh,
There's another one.
speaking of, I had poached eggs for breakfast. They're pretty good.
Nice.
Thank
I
you.
haven't had eggs in a while. Well, actually, just kidding. I have because I had them on a breakfast burrito.
Mm-hmm.
There is also another random fact of the day.
Ooh, a second one.
The original title for Scream was supposed to be Scary Movie.
Oh, I think there's a pair. I think that's where the parody got the name. That's where the parody got the name from. Okay, that's good to know. Huh.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there's a parody of Scream called Scary Movie. I never even realized that. That's cool. That's good to know.
Yee.
But yeah, I remember I've always been. Oh, it's interesting. Not recently. I guess you could say when I was younger, I always had an addiction to eggs. My go-to meal would be a Reuben sandwich with a sunny side egg on top, runny. That way, when I crack it open, it will be absorbed by the toast, and it'll make for the best sandwich I've ever had in my life.
I like eggs, but I'm also very picky about eggs. Um, I like hard-boiled eggs and like scrambled eggs and sunny side up eggs, but I don't really like scrambled eggs. I'm very picky about. Like I don't really just eat them any normal way, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, because of the texture. So yeah.
I gotcha. I remember for the longest time, I'd always be trying to experiment with eggs. I would make them scrambled with cheese, scrambled with milk. I'd always learn sunny side up eggs. I remember boiling eggs. I remember this one time, in fact, I even made pickled boiled eggs. They were actually really good.
Huh.
I should have let them pickle for longer
Oh,
because the flavor didn't penetrate that much, but it penetrated enough to where it was pretty good.
fried eggs. Me and my dad have this in common because we both really, really love fried eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, a funny story is we go to this restaurant and it's a local restaurant and they have these really good fried eggs that they serve alongside some of their meals.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one time that there was like a mistake that happened with my dad getting his fried egg, and so the um the server, like, he joked about it and he was like, for that I should get two fried eggs because he loves fried eggs so much. And so the server was like, okay, I'll give you two. And so she brought out two. And like he was like, I was only joking, but thanks.
Okay, so I just had to look this up while you were talking. I'm curious. I was always curious what the difference was between a fried egg and a sunny side up egg.
Uh-huh.
But what I didn't realize is the main deal about fried eggs is that the top of it gets basted with some sort of grease or oil, which I never really thought about. That's pretty cool. That's good to know. Like I read
Yeah.
some people actually baste it with bacon grease. That's pretty cool.
The fried egg that I got kind of reminded me, it was like a hard-boiled egg, but like it wasn't hard-boiled. It was just like it looked like one,
Mm-hmm.
but when you bite into it, it's a lot softer
Mm-hmm.
and like the middle is kind of runny-ish.
Oh yeah, one thing I always loved to do with eggs was I would always combine them with ramen just because they can have the extra protein, and
I love that.
they would also absorb a lot of the sodium to where it didn't taste like I was just eating a bunch of salty noodles either.
I used to do that all the time. I would get ramen and I would put eggs in it, and I would also add green onions and leeks to it,
Mm-hmm.
and also carrots too.
That's nice. I remember. I think I was 11. I'd say maybe. Yeah, I want to say I was 11. I think I learned at kind of. Okay, question for you, Alex. When did you learn
Mhm.
to cook eggs?
I learned to cook eggs actually uh pretty young because I was right around like 8 or so maybe when I learned because my dad would do these brunch things held for like low income people, and he'd like give them like brunch food and he would have me help, and so I learned how to cook eggs whenever I started helping with those.
Okay. I want to say I started learning eggs when I was 11, I'd say. I know for a fact it was after my parents' divorce because I was living in the apartment with my dad, and he asked me one day what I wanted to eat, and I said eggs because, I like eggs. So he taught me how to, he got a little bit of olive oil, put it on the pan, or should be able to put it on the pan, heat it up a bit, and then he taught me how to crack an egg, and then I guess you could say I went off from there.
Nice.
Yeah, nice little memory that I have of them, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Okay, here is the $1,000,000 question for the podcast. Did your father have a positive or negative impact, and why?
So, same answer that I had with my mom. I would say that he also had a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Because like every parent, I mean, they're not perfect. Um, and you know, he had a very hard time understanding emotions and emotional needs,
Mm-hmm.
and especially with him having four girls who are all very emotional and dramatic,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely did not really understand any of us very well.
Mm-hmm.
But he did try, and he did still teach me a lot of good things. So I'd say it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. For me, my dad, it's weird because, like, I don't know if I mentioned this in podcasts before, but my father used to be very verbally abusive. Whenever I wasn't as perfect as could be, he would always yell at me, and it always seemed like at least this is what it would seem like. It would always seem like it would be his mission just for me to make sure that I knew that I wasn't ever going to be good enough. Because whenever I'd make a mistake or anything like that, he would yell at me and make sure that I knew that I would feel like my life had less value than others.
Right.
And funny enough, that's kind of what my ex helped me realize a little bit. I kind of already did that for my dad. I guess you could say my ex helped me realize that from the rest of my family. But yeah, my dad, he would always yell at me whenever things weren't going his way or whenever something upset him. Like, I wouldn't be the one to upset him personally, and yet if he's still angry, he's gonna take it out on whoever he can find. You could say.
Right.
Like, it's ironic because whoever would be closest to him at the time would be the person that he would yell at the most, you could say. And I want to say that for the longest time, I was the one closest to him.
Yeah, and that's kind of how my dad was too. Like he like definitely whoever was closest, like that was just the type of person he was. But
Hmm.
I don't know, like very similar, honestly.
Hmm. And another thing is that I guess you could say when I was younger, I developed a big fear of him because he would always be really mad. I always saw him as kind of scary because I didn't ever want to yell at him. And around that time, I was doing badly at school because I was depressed due to the whole divorce and everything like that, and I didn't really feel like I had real purpose in life.
Right.
So because of that, my dad, he took me out to Virginia to get my brain scanned to see if I can get any medication to get me fixed and everything like that. But basically, it didn't work, and it's because when we got to the big therapist guy, when we started to have a talk, I wasn't ever fully honest about my problems or why I was always scared because my dad would be sitting right next to me during the whole therapy session. So I was always scared and terrified to talk to him, talk to the therapist about my dad because he would always be there to watch. And
Wait, they
then
have to have something against that though, right?
I honestly don't remember. Like I don't remember much. I know. I guess. Well, I guess also because I never asked I never asked him to leave. I'm sure I could have asked him to leave legally, but the thing is, like, I was just a kid. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, understandable.
And when my dad found out that when my dad found out that I basically lied because I was never honest because of him, he got mad at me and started yelling at me, saying that I can't be scared of him, especially if I have to be honest, paying for an expensive medical procedure. It wasn't like a surgery or anything like that, it was just medicine and everything like that. But I was basically prescribed medicine that did help in a way, but at the same time, that medicine, it's basically dulled down my emotions to where I wouldn't really ever be like lashing out.
Yeah.
Even though really me lashing out was my way of trying to speak up for myself because half the time people would be talking shit to me or treating me like shit, and I couldn't ever talk back because, or at least I never really had the sense to talk back when I took that medicine until I wouldn't take it, and then I would talk out, and then people would say, "Lonnie, you need to take your medicine."
Yeah.
And like my dad, he was always gets mad at me because I wouldn't ever be perfect, or I guess you could say because I wouldn't ever know how to properly put out my emotions. And of course, that's because I was emotionally stunted due to him always yelling at me.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was for me and my parents too.
Hmm.
I was very like emotionally stunted in a way.
But yeah, like I do want to say this though about my dad. If you checked on him now, he is absolutely as cool as a cucumber, and that's because he realized once he reached a certain age that arguing and yelling at people, it's not going to do you any good. There's really no benefit to it at all. So eventually he just learned to just cool down and just let people be people. Like for example, he would used to yell at me when my room looks like shit. And I'll be honest, my bedroom upstairs, it looks like shit right now, and yet he doesn't care now because, and I'm thankful for that because he's just finally cooled off and he's just too tired to really disagree or argue with anyone.
Right.
Because he's starting to
I
realize that
mean,
there is no point to it. There's no point to all this arguing and stuff. I need to just lay off and let people be people.
right. Honestly, I've kind of gotten like a little bit distant with my dad just because like he's cooled down a little bit, but he's still very critical, and he still is like he'll help me with things if I ask him for it, but he's very judgmental about it while doing it, so I just try not to like bother him with things.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'd say like our relationship like it's not it's not in a terrible place right now, but I just kind of keep my distance.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's weird right now because, again, like I mentioned before, I barely ever see him now because, again, he was in Africa. He was in Africa, Dubai for 7 months, and I was literally living on my own for those 7 months. He was paying for all my bills in school and everything like that, buy paper on food and everything like that. And it's interesting because for me, it always seems like he's just been this distant figure, or at least for the past year or so, just because he's always been on a
Right.
trip trying to make some money for the family. And now, when he's finally come back, he's only here for what, like 2 weeks or so, and now he's back. Now he's back to Africa. He claims he'll be back on. He claims he'll be back on the 13th, but he says that there's always a chance he has to delay it and that he'll have to stay in Africa. And the last time he did that, he was there for a good all 7 fucking months.
Yeah, that sounds pretty rough.
Yeah. Like I don't mind him being like, okay, I know it sounded rude. I don't mind him being gone at all because again, he's making a living, he's paying for everything here, and nobody here has to be real strict or anything like that because my mom's similar to me in a way because he doesn't want things to have to be super strict to where we gotta make sure we gotta watch what we're doing. That way we don't trigger someone's OCD. And my dad has major OCD when it comes to cleanliness, dishes, and everything like that. Of course, he doesn't
Yeah.
mind with my own room now because he knows that that's my territory, that's my own little thing. He's gonna leave that be now. But of course, for example, the kitchen that belongs to everyone. So he needs to make sure that the kitchen is perfect and fit for everyone to be in there, especially him.
Right.
So like
That's kind of how I am too.
it's weird the fact that he's not here, the fact that I barely ever see him. I'll try to spend time with him to watch TV shows and stuff like that, but the second he gets back, he'll still be on the phone or on his computer trying to do business from home. Like, it's weird because, you'll be doing business for 7 months halfway across the world, and then when you finally come back, you still gotta do business.
See, the funny thing for me is that like with with I don't know if it's all dads, but I kind of assume that it is because I know a lot of my friends have complained about the same thing. But like my dad like he would like say like that he wouldn't go because with his job he has the opportunity to go across to California to do like do business over there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um but he doesn't, and he says that it's because he doesn't want to leave his family and whatnot. But at the same time, even at home, he's still constantly shut off in his office doing work. So like at the same, like, I don't know, I feel like dads are just workaholics.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. Especially, I'd say the previous generation in a way, without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to think of something I was going to say about my dad, but don't remember exactly what it was. But oh yes, I remember. So when my stepmom got so okay, here's the crazy thing. Okay, so this was 7 years ago at this point. I'd say 7ish
Mhm.
years, maybe. Yeah, my dad he went to Florida for a trip or something like that, for a business trip, and then he met this one woman in a bar. She was the bartender at the time, and then she ended up being my stepmother. But the thing is, my dad, I guess you could say he blames God on this because he claimed that God told him that they need to get married, and they got married within 2 months of knowing each other. And if you have any common
Oof.
sense, you know for a fact that that's not a healthy or wise thing to do.
Yeah. Nah.
And then eventually it led to her being, her being her. I've mentioned her in other episodes. You can check them out if you want to. I believe it's episode 1 or 2. She's crazy. She's got a shitty sleep schedule. She'll go to bed at like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or something like that. And my dad, he'll want to do work until 3 a.m.,
Yeah.
And it led to the point where they had to get their own separate rooms to where she lives in the upstairs room and he'll live in the master bedroom. And she was half his age. She has all this energy. She's really aggressive. She's really mean. She would be yelling at him whenever there would be an issue. And, again, he's just got too tired to fight back with her. I guess that's another thing that kind of made him calm down and ease off and everything. But I know for a fact that he wasn't happy with her during the last 2 years of their marriage.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he wanted to break out of it, but he didn't want to be the guy. He didn't want to have to be the guy to have to get a second divorce.
Yeah.
Because there's always that one guy on TV who you'll see he's going through his like fifth or sixth wife. He doesn't want to ever end up like that guy because nobody's ever going to take that guy seriously.
Right.
But it got to the point where my stepmother, she was just really disappointed in him, and she just didn't like him anymore. To where she just broke things off with him. They are still legally married, but she just left, and now she's living in Virginia.
Interesting.
Yeah. Funny thing though, I appreciate the fact that she's an OCD bitch who couldn't keep her hands out of my room to make sure that it was spotless. Otherwise, she'd have a goddamn heart attack. I appreciate the fact that she's in Virginia right now, living in a trailer covered in cat shit. I think that's ironic.
Yeah. Pretty ironic.
And it's funny because also, like, last month, I'd say, she reached out to my dad again, asking for a little anime redemption arc and everything like that, saying, I've changed, I'm a different person now. And my dad went to go interview her, see if she actually has changed, and he decided that she shouldn't come back. And I want to say I'm very proud of him for doing that because that needed to have happened a long time ago. To where he
Yeah.
got his own spine on the decision of what he needed to do with his own life rather than let her decide everything for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty wise and smart.
Yeah. And plus, I mentioned this to you personally, but fun fact, people are streaming right now. My biological mom, biological dad are living together in the same house. My divorced parents are living together while his wife is in Virginia right now, and they're actually getting along really well, and I'm actually really happy about it, but it's just still a really weird thing to consider.
Yeah.
So I can just imagine the sheer chaos and madness it would be if two opposite women started living in the same house. My dad's ex-wife, as well as my dad's current wife.
That kind of like for some reason reminds me of The Parent Trap
Mm-hmm.
because of that one
Yep.
situation with the ex and the fiance.
I remember that. Yep. Gotta
Yeah.
get into Chanel's one second. But yeah, it's interesting
What's
because at the same time, you could see him go through all sorts of different changes in his life. But now, I guess you would say he's finally at a decent spot with me and the family in a way because he's not aggressive at all, and he's finally kicked the bucket with Jill. Of course, they are still legally married, so I'm assuming that's going to be dealt with one day or not at all. I don't know. But I just know for a fact that things are doing better now than they were a long time ago.
Right.
How would you say your current situation is with your father?
Um, he's doing better than he was. I mean, I don't really know. He hasn't updated me very recently on how it's going now, but he, for a while at least, was going to AA. I'm not sure if he still is, but that took a lot of courage and strength from him to do because he's been struggling with being an alcoholic for so long. So, um, but he's also been kind of keeping his distance from me, and I've been keeping my distance from him. So there's really not like a whole lot to update on, but
I gotcha. I mentioned this before, but my stepmother, she was a raging alcoholic, and my dad, he was the complete opposite of an alcoholic. Like, at the most, he will literally have, like, one beer a night, or, like, 2 glasses of wine, and that'll be it. Like, nothing more than that.
yeah. Yeah, no, my dad definitely like he would hide his alcohol in the randomest spots. Like there was some like under the bathroom counter that I had found once,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like honestly like places that just don't make sense.
Fathers are interesting. Like, it's weird, you could say, the upbringing of a man, because at the same time, there's always the there's always the belief system, or at least the educational beliefs, that you need to be able to be an emotional tank. You can't exactly be one to output your feelings, otherwise you're going to be seen as feminine or weak in a way. And like
Yeah.
it's interesting because my dad believed that for the longest time, because I remember one time I was crying in the car on the way to school. I don't remember what for, but he was yelling at me saying that I can't cry because I have to be a man.
Yeah.
And and at the same time, I don't I do blame him for that some, but at the same time, I want to say that I don't blame him, because that's simply because that's what he was taught when he was younger. He was taught that you need to be tough. The world's not gonna be nice to you, so you need to make sure that you're gonna be like a wall of steel.
Right.
But eventually, of course, over time, I would say maybe around like by the time I was 12, maybe or 11, he understands that it's okay for guys to have emotions. It's okay to let them out, and it's okay to just if you need to cry.
Yeah, my dad learned very quickly that we are very emotional people and that he can't tell us not to be emotional because we're not we're not gonna listen.
Hmm.
And also like I've made my dad cry before, so
That's fun.
part of me's proud of that and part of me feels bad at the same time.
Hmm. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my dad, he's never been the best at handling my sister's emotions, because I remember. Okay, this is one time my sister's boyfriend was over, and they were hanging out in her bedroom, and
Mm-hmm.
the door was open, and they were just doing school.
Right.
In fact, okay, seriously, okay, so here's context, so you guys don't get a little judgment or anything like that. So, my sister's mattress upstairs, when you sleep on that fucking thing, it's literally like you're gonna inject yourself with 100 milligrams of pure melatonin. You're gonna be knocked the fuck out the second you're on the bed. So he was on that bed just for a second. All right, my sister's boyfriend, he just passed right out.
Yeah.
So my sister, she was doing her school, looking at everything like that, letting him sleep, because I'm assuming he had a long day or something like that. And then my stepmother peeped over for a second, and then she decided to run off to dad, saying that they're sleeping in the bed together and the door was shut. Even though
What the heck?
even though the door wasn't shut, and he was the only one asleep in the bed.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Why?
Because
Okay.
basically, from what I understand, it's my stepmother. She has a bit of a childlike mind, to where she wants only one woman to have dad's attention, you could say.
Yeah.
And after Diego left, after everything he left, everything like that, and then my dad confronted my sister on it. Oh
Turn
shit,
this
Moofle with the
channel down
raid.
before I spend another minute living amongst these creatures bred in a laboratory.
This is an awkward time for a bit of a raid to the stream, but thank you, Moofle. So, anyways, back to the story. So yeah, my stepmother convinced my dad that my sister and her boyfriend were doing a little bit of canoodling, even though obviously they weren't. Thank you, Moofle. I appreciate the compliments. But my dad yelled at my sister really loudly because he believed that she betrayed his trust, when really that didn't happen at all. That's a host as well. Who's hosting me right now? Ah, Fallacy. Thanks, Phyllis, buddy. Appreciate that, man. And you know, it even got to the point where my dad, he was yelling so much that he literally told her to get out because he couldn't emotionally handle the arguments. So where she literally took the car and she drove off to go see my mom. And it wasn't until later that my dad realized that my stepmom lied to my dad about what happened.
Right.
And you know, with my dad, when something like that happens, he's not willing to listen to an explanation or anything like that. He'll listen to one source, and that's a subscription from Fallacy. Subscribe. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that, man. How long is that sub going on? That is, you've been subscribed for 30 months on a 6-month streak, man. 6-month streak. God bless you, man. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. But, yeah, he's never been able to properly listen to anything. Like, let's say, for example, you could tell him one thing, and then he'll be dead set on that fact, or at least in his mind, it'll be a fact, and then nothing will change him. Nothing will be able to convince him unless, you know, it's like some sort of obvious, big, right in your face sort of thing. Because
Right.
he'll be blinded by his anger to the point where he's not able to tell what the hell is going on.
Right. Do we have the same dad?
Something like that. But no, let me take a little break. Thank you for that raid, Moofle, and thank you for that toast fallacy as well, that sub. Hi, I'm Lona66. I'm doing a little podcast right now. I'm doing a little recording. The full podcast will be up on YouTube and Spotify later. You can check it out on my socials. I don't know if exactly I have my what are those little things? Panels. I don't have my panels updated yet. I can update those later and everything like that. But thank you again for stopping by, and I appreciate you being here. I am a variety streamer. I stream a variety of different things from Battlefront 2 to Siege, Minecraft, not Roblox. I'm not going to stream Roblox. I know I streamed it once. I'm not going to do it again. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. We're currently doing a podcast. The focus is on fathers. You can catch the beginning of the VOD, or you can catch it on the uploads that I mentioned later. So yeah, you were saying, Alex?
I forgot what I was saying.
Oh, nice job. Okay, so yeah, it's interesting with fathers because they're always trying to do what they can to upbring someone, to try to teach them this is how you're going to deal with society. This is basically how you kind of fight for your own little pocket in the universe. But at the same time, it's difficult for a father to do that because they've always been taught to handle their emotions in a very specific way, to the point where it leads to them not being able to fully express themselves. And because of that, there's always conflict, there's always confusion, there's always a sort of there's always this big sort of emotional mess because they're not able to completely output their emotions in the way that they want to.
Right.
But yeah, again, like, they do what they can. Obviously, they're not going to be perfect at it, but in the end, we are only human. Yes,
Right.
that's the title. And yes, I'm going to do that every single episode now. That's going to be a little catchphrase we got going on.
But in the end, we're only human.
Indeed. And I apologize, Moofle and Fausty. I know you guys just got here. I appreciate the raid, but I got to wrap up this episode. I will be live later at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a podcast episode with Rude Jack and a couple other people from the 66th Battalion, including Chunky. Yeah, Chunky, Notorious, Rude Jack, and everything like that. But again, I do appreciate... Who's your co-host? My co-host is Alex. Say hi, Alex.
Hello.
Yeah, I've had itchy fucking nose this entire thing. Fucking hell, man. My nose is fine. It's not itchy, but it's just annoying. But yes, Alex, she's an old friend from a while back. We met at church camp because she was at one church and I was at another church, and our churches basically merged for that week during our little camp retreat. And then we became friends later, and then I started messaging her on Twitter, and then we said, why not start a podcast together? Because,
Me.
Yes, indeed.
Permit? What?
Woofle, you good? You good there, bud? I see you're doing a little permit thing. Was that like a little copy pasta you got going on?
What does that mean?
Permit, that's usually a command in order to let someone post a link, because half the time you can have a moderation bot that will mute someone for posting a link in the chat.
Oh.
Yep. You have no idea how you did that? Well, I'm going to assume that's been on your clipboard somewhere, Moofle, or something like that. Is that on your clipboard? Good to know. Okay, but yeah, again, I apologize for cutting the stream early, even though I just got raided. Again, Moofle, God bless you. God bless you, Fallacy, for the sub, as well as the host. Thank you, and your clipboard's hearts. That's good to know. Yeah, we are going... You know what? Fuck it. We got a decent number of people. Let's raid Spide. Let's raid a good old cute Spide. It's been a while since I've been on her channel. Make sure I got that username right. _Spide. She's currently streaming Bloodborne. Lately, she's been doing a bit of a Bloodborne Dark Souls thing for the past... I don't know, past year or so. And... And yeah, she's a good streamer. We'll be back on the next episode next Sunday. Oh, that's a follow. I know, Insector. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, we'll be doing our next episode next Sunday. I'm going to be doing a live stream at 8. I'm assuming that's going to be pretty late for you EU viewers. I know Boofle's majority of viewers are from the EU. But again, God bless you all. And I will see you all in the next episode on Sunday. Ah, fucking ad, come on. Come on, you fucking ad. 15 seconds so we get this shit through.
Wait, what?
Well, I'm currently rating Spide, but I want to see the rate on her channel, but I can't right now because of a fucking ad. Yes.
Ooh, there's an item.
Understandable.
I remember this item being really good. No, never mind.
Alright. Wait, are we done?